Keshe Foundation is leading in and started interacting with the world of medicine in a different way, in a very fast way. And as we see, many scientists around the world are listening and taking note. The way we brought other things in, they start researches on it. We have to see two things. Now we know a virus, doesn't matter whatever it is, we call it, is an energy pack. It needs itself to be attached to an amino acid. So in that process, once it finds the energy pack with energy structure, because it has a DNA, it can control itself, it can mutate to absorb more. It's a living thing. It's like us looking for food to survive. It looks for energy to that it can take. So it attaches itself to Mr. Cohen. Let's say it links itself to O because it's the gravitational field of it, or to the weakest one of the hedge. So now we see is it needs that connection. It finds that connection. But how does it enter the body of the man? It needs a weak point. It needs a point of entry. One of the point of entries, if we can show, this is the lip of the man. As you know, I'm the worst drawer in the world. Then you see what happens. We usually see herpes in these regions around the mouth or in these positions. Why? At this point, this is not what you see. This is not what you imagine. What reality is, there's a space gap. The shape is like this. Here is the skin of the man, external part. Here is the internal part, the sausage, the breathing part, where we eat. These two are two different structures. So what happens here, there is a weak point in the structure. And the weak point in the structure is this. It's like woven chain. It's like, as you see in your nano layers, it's open space. It's like sewing a leather to a cotton. Two different materials. You cannot put them together. You cannot fuse them. They are two different structures. And so what happens if this energy here, as you see, has its own characteristics? As we said in the teachings of the medical teaching, going back 3-4 years ago, every skin has 3 layers, as I explained just before. So when you look at the structure, this is 3 layers of it. 1, 2, and 3. When you look at this one, it's the same. It has 3 layers of it. And the 2 bottom layers somehow link up. But the middle layers of the same salt content, because they carry the blood in the level of balance of it, which you understand later on, they have a space gap. What it means now, they link up, but now the virus comes into this space gap. Now it's got a place to live. Why do we see it on the corners usually? Because this is where the space gap continuously fixed to one point moves close and open. To the points of flexibility, we see it coming up, because that's the point where it can enter. And when it enters, it has found a nest. It enters into the middle layer and it stays there. Now, we see the existence and how and the reason we see this energy pack, which is equal to the energy pack of the amino acid of the two levels of the inner and outer, becomes a nesting ground for the virus. Because don't forget, is 6 layers now, is not 3 layers. You have 3 layers of the skin and you have 3 layers of the inner tube. So in that position, there is a gap. It sits in there because the field strength matches the field strength of the virus. In that position, sitting in the middle section affects the salt content of the layer, usually on the skin side, because the lip side, the inside, is fluid. You carry a lot of fluid, it's continuously changing. So what happens, the change of the salt due to the energy creates blisters, and the salt burning, you see it as blisters on the skin. Then other infection sits in because of the energy level, and you have all these, what we call the virus of herpes. We call it herpes. So if we understood this, we go to the next step. That is why we see herpes of a given strength which appears only at the mouth. Now, if the herpes moves inside, it's a different story. Now the condition here is different acidity of all the enzymes and everything else in the mouth. It has to mutate to become stronger that it can survive this position. You have a cut in the internal part, it goes in the gap of the 3 layers of the skin. Now it becomes stronger. Now it becomes what we call number 2. At strength, because now it has to handle the liquid inside the body of the man, which is a composite, where the skin was slightly different. But there is a big problem with the whole thing. The skin, if you look at it, the skin of the man is part of the brain of the man. Now that the virus has entered the middle skin, immediately travels into the brain of the man, through the middle skin. But at the same time, as the other side, which is the lip skin, is connected to the internal, but works in a different dimension, links up. So what happened? The virus through the middle layers of the skin of the man moves into the brain, because it's made of the same, it's the same transformation. And when it moves into the brain, the strength of the virus, if this is the brain, and this is a part of the memory of the man, has the strength that it sits in that space. And this is the reason we call it Alzheimer's, due to herpes. In a way, you put a jammer on it. You put, the way you package and you jam a frequency, this herpes has a capability at the strength, because it came through the middle section, through the membrane of the body of the man. It has a strength that strength fits into the strength of the memory part and produces what we call Alzheimer's. It has a strength. As we grow older, our brain function changes, and on the given strength, it matches total blockage. You know, you send a message and they block you. This is what it does. Now we understand the whole process of Alzheimer's through herpes. It's taken me nearly 25 years researching into this. it's been one of the biggest